Ready?
Evolve to Grow Radio, National Strategic Partners Eugene Schatzman and Roman Yakubovich here. Today we got a great show. We're going to be talking about the internet. And what does that mean, Roman?
The internet? It's that utopian existence that's going to make every business grow just by simply putting on a website and putting on a Facebook page.
I think that's what most people do, right? They say, "Oh, this is the internet. And somebody introduced me to a website. I need to go put up a website, and now there's Facebook, so now I need to put up a Facebook. Oh, but there's Twitter too. I got to go get a Twitter.
Yeah, don't forget Google Plus. We got to make sure we get our Google Plus profile, and then
Tumblr, Squidoo."
And then somehow everyone's just going to
LinkedIn.
come to those pages out of nowhere. They're just going to come and give you money.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Business is going to be flowing in the door.
You got it.
Hundreds
That's exactly
of thousands
right.
of dollars. Yes,
Yeah, that's the internet.
So I think that's
I think
the
we're
problem.
done. We can go home. Right? We've told everyone what they have to do. They just got to go out there and build a bunch of profiles and count the cash.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm
Actually,
excited.
I read a statistic at some point that if you actually just spent time only opening profiles on every single social media website there is today, like literally just opening profiles, that's not interacting, not doing anything else, just opening those profiles, you would spend 1 month and like 3 days just opening, full time, just opening those profiles.
Well, since there's going to be free money after, that's great ROI.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be awesome.
We'll have to ask Eugene later on whether he'd get into that sort of ROI.
That's a great point. Joining us later is going to be a special guest, Eugene Loy. He's got some really terrific insights. We'll introduce him later. Also in the show, we're going to give you some very specific strategies and techniques that you can employ on the internet to actually see some ROI. And as much as we're kidding now, the reality is that there are some very key things you can do on the internet and things that will interact with your marketing. But I guess that's the real point, is that the internet's not really any different than your general marketing.
General marketing. I think there was a time when everyone thought that it was going to be the next panacea, that somehow you stopped doing all other marketing and all other rules of business were just thrown out the door, and you would just convert to this new way of doing business, and before you knew it, our buildings would come crumbling down, brick and mortar would be gone. I guess we'd start making fields and planting wheat, and in the meantime you'd have money coming in off your internet website. But the fact is that I think it's safe to say that we can all declare that the internet is sort of now just a tool, as a part of your arsenal when you're out marketing, and that the basics of all marketing still apply and in fact are more important than ever. And that is specifically, you got to get your customers or prospects really, to take action. You have to get them to be interested first, right? You have to first pique their interest. Got to get them to take action. Then you got to educate them, and that's probably the only thing that's changed a little bit. Is that because the internet has made the general user so much more intelligent, more informed, knowledgeable about the products, that you now have to spend time educating them about your company and about the product itself.
But it doesn't matter, because it's all with the same thing in mind. You have to start with the end in mind, which is getting the sale, right? At the very end, it's all about the money, getting the sale, and so many people just put crap out there and they hope that somehow that's going to drive them to somehow get money in the door, and I'm going to get visitors, I'm going to get Facebook likes, or I'm going to get people to subscribe to my Twitter feed, and none of that stuff really makes sense unless you have an end point, which is you're going to make money.
Yeah, too many businesses are very proud of the fact that they have 100 likes or followers, because all they do is run around, let's be honest, at first they're running around asking every friend and family member to come like them, and then they brag about how many likes they have, but when you ask them how do those turn into sales, you get answers very similar to, well, it's not about the money with social media, it's about having exposure, or you can't really measure ROI. My favorite sort of internet guru comment, it's not about measuring ROI. There's more to social media than that. But the fact is, if you can't tell me,
favorite sarcastically,
right? Yeah, you're right. Sorry, you can't tell me that if there isn't, what role that particular media plays or the internet plays in your specific steps that you want your customers to say. And that's really the key. When we talk about tweaking interest, sure, you could use Facebook, you can use Google, you can worry about SEO. You're trying to get someone's interest through solid headlines. And then you have to know that what I'm going to ask them to do, the call to action, is to request something from me, either give me their email address or maybe pick up the phone, whatever it is, I have to get them to engage with me. After that, you have to build a relationship, right? First rule of sales, you have to build a relationship. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, and that same relationship can be built through education, but you're absolutely right. What the Internet's done is it's allowed marketers to be less, it's forced marketers to be less lazy. Right there, marketers now have to make sure that their customer is not just informed but educated by them, because I can go get free information just about anywhere right now.
And you want to be the one who's giving them that information.
And as a marketer, you want to be the one providing it.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a quick short break, and after that break, we're going to bring in our expert guest, Eugene Loy.
We're back with Evolve to Grow Radio with Roman and Eugene. And I'd like to, at this time, introduce a really good friend of mine. We've been friends for pretty much as long as I can remember, since we were kids, and have taken several, gone different paths when it comes to our business careers. But Eugene has really taken one of the harder ones and has really dedicated himself to his business and to helping out small business owners. He started his adventure in 1992, before really the web was even commercialized. And over the last 20 years, he has consulted with more than 80 companies spanning about 25 different industries. Eugene's made a reasonable living by providing contingency consulting services. And what that means is he doesn't get paid unless he delivers his clients extraordinary results. Eugene has a book that's about to be released, so when that happens, we're going to have him back on the show to help him out with that. It's called Sold Out: How to Sell a Ton of Advanced Sales Tickets, Pack Your Event, and Stop Worrying About People Showing Up. He's written over 450 articles on the internet and about marketing and event promotion, which, by the way, you can find on his blog, Eugene Loy. That's L-O-J. That's EUGENELOJ.com, where you can find all sorts of information really about internet marketing. And I enjoy going out there and reading stuff all the time.
I visit that blog almost weekly because, to be honest, Eugene's an all-star, rock star internet marketer, and it's a pleasure to have him on the show.
You got it. Hey, Eugene, you there?
I am.
So let's just get right to it. You and I have talked a lot about sort of the role of the internet and about marketing. And what do you think the internet has done for the marketing industry, in your experience and in your opinion?
Well, in my experience, and it's something that has been handed down to me from the people that I look up to, and they're direct response marketers, so people that invest their advertising and marketing efforts, and they look for an ROI at the end of the day. And when it comes to the internet, right, and it's something that you were alluding to earlier on in your conversation, that the fundamentals of classic salesmanship and marketing don't change just because it's the internet, right? The internet's a tool. Social media is a tool. Email marketing is a tool. The fundamentals haven't changed in thousands of years. If you look back at the old markets and Coney Island Barkers and how they sell things, all of that has pretty much remained constant. The psychology of selling and the psychology of marketing are universal. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the internet and it being a tool and having a whole bunch of additional tools built upon it, what it comes down to at the end of the day is it's great for going through your marketing and testing your sales, where previously you would run a direct response campaign like a mail campaign. It might take you a couple of weeks to figure out if that campaign worked, if your headline worked, if your offer was right. But now you can do that literally in the matter of, in some cases, a couple of hours, but at least, in a day or two, and find out that, before you go and you print up your brochures or you make your offer and do any of that stuff, you can test it at lightning fast speed. That's the nice thing about the internet.
So what
it
is
allows
that?
You to test your marketing.
Yeah, what does that really mean, though, in practical terms for a small business owner, for example? Why is the ability to move through this stuff a lot faster really matter to them?
Well, from an implementation standpoint, right, you're a small business owner or a business owner in general. You have an idea for a product or service. How much time are you going to spend putting together your product and service and then putting it into the marketplace, and only to find out that ultimately it's something that the consumer isn't looking for? What the Internet allows you to do is test your concept for your product or service in very small incremental ways without necessarily putting a lot of money up front. So you can test your concept very quickly, and you can see if people even have interest in it. Because we as business owners, we tend to think that we have the greatest product or we have the greatest service, therefore everybody else is going to want it. But what the Internet allows you to do is to test a headline, test an offer, test your pricing structure, and do it extremely quickly and get near instantaneous feedback.
Well, it almost sounds like it allows you really to take more risk without actually taking risk. If that sounds, makes any sense at all. It really lets you go out there and try something new, adapt what you're doing, and not commit to it long term, because you can very quickly decide whether it's working or not. So it allows you to sort of free up your being constantly defensive and always trying to sort of protect yourself by allowing you a little more freedom to just get out there and go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think if you're willing to do it, the Internet is a very sobering experience for testing your marketing ideas or testing your products and services. Because the catch with a lot of business owners, and I know that I can speak for myself, but I've seen this a lot with my clients, that we have this very subjective viewpoint, right? What we have is the best. Everybody needs this. And with that testing, you're allowing yourself to be objective about what your business is about or the core of your business or those things that you're going to sell. And it really is, again, you're collecting the feedback of the user, of the people that you're trying to get to buy your products and service and invest in you. So I think in that regard, you have that interactive marketing experience, near real-time, or in some cases, real-time interactive marketing experience.
So, Eugene, everything you're saying makes a ton of sense. But tell me, how does a local landscaper or a restaurant owner or someone in really sort of down in the trenches small business who barely invests a ton of effort into their marketing in the first place, how do they take advantage of what you're talking about?
Well, you guys were talking before, one of the points you brought up was lead generation, right? Generating a lead for your business. So almost any business owner that I can think of they probably have some sort of Internet presence these days. If not, you can do it probably for under $100. And there are people out there, if you're not comfortable with that will do it for a couple of $100 for you. So you at least need a website to be able to do some of this stuff. My personal favorite, and again, it's universally applicable with all of those different companies that I've been fortunate enough to work with, what we tend to do is we will take a simple opt-in form, and like you said, asking somebody for their first name and email address, and then trade them something of value. So you come to a page, you see that home page, and there's a big opt-in form. I know a lot of people, including my own clients, roll their eyes at that. They're like, that's like an infomercial, right? There's a lot of words. And,
we've heard that a lot, too.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and when I put my first name and email address, I'm going to end up getting spammed.
Yep.
And for the most part, those people's, a person's fear comes true, because what ends up happening, you put your first name and email address in there, and then you end up regretting it until you unsubscribe from that list. Because what people do is, especially companies, they will spam bomb you ad nauseum on, hey, we just have this and it's on sale and you just signed up.
Yeah, buy. Yeah.
They miss the key step, and that's education, right? I mean, they're not and building a relationship.
Yeah, and on that education and relationship, we call it the value to sell sequence, right? Instead of worrying about going through and selling somebody as quickly as possible, build a relationship with them online. And that's, we talked about the Internet and the tools and social media and Twitter and Facebook and even email marketing. You can use all of those platforms to focus on building a relationship right? And then saving the selling for later on as opposed to right from the get-go. Now, is that to say you can't try to sell them something right away? No, because I've had clients of mine, one specifically in the T-shirt industry, that he has an opt-in. He says, give me your first name and email address, and I will send you a coupon for 10% off. Last time I checked, right, and he gets tens of thousands of people coming to his website on a monthly basis, he was converting right around 30% of the people that put their first name and email address into that opt-in box within 30 days into customers. Now, the reason for that is he has an irresistible offer, right? He already has brand identity. People like it. And it's one of those things where he knows that he can try to sell somebody something very quickly. It's not super expensive.
Right. I was going to say, yeah, you and I have talked about that client, right? And he's asking for a $20, I think, or $25 sort of purchase. It's not $1,000, $500.
It's not your $5,000 business-to-business transaction, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing you guys bring up a good point that, again, you have to gauge your marketplace and see what they're willing to do.
And, and it's important, and I know we've all talked about this in the past, it's important that everyone seems to always say, oh, it's the free report, the free white paper, the free case study. In this case, he didn't feel like he needed to do that. He gave away the coupon, which is perfectly fine in the right appropriate circumstances.
But even the free report is a piece of crap if it doesn't have the right headline with it, if it doesn't claim to deliver to me the value that I really care about.
Yeah, and Eugene brings up an important point, right? Everybody, yes, you can do a free report. Yes, you should do a free report. If you're looking for an idea, people are like, oh, I don't know what to do a free report on. Take your industry or take your business and do the top 10 mistakes people actually make in that business. And then you say, here are the top 10 mistakes, and then offer solutions. But what you can do is you can also soft sell your services, right?
Right. You just start setting the buying criteria.
You gently push yourself as the solution without being overt and saying, we are the best, you should hire us. Go through that education process. Show people that, hey, we are actually very good at what we do.
Hey, Eugene, we've only got about 30 seconds left, so let's sort of, as we wrap it up, kind of give me your number one insight. If somebody were to get started sort of moving along the whole Internet segment right now, if they were going to start trying to make money on the Internet right now, what's the one big piece of advice you'd offer them?
The one big thing I would give them is test and track. Test often and constantly be tracking. Don't be afraid to fail forward in terms of what you're trying to do.
That's great advice.
You made some, you suggested a headline or test an offer. Test kind of the fundamentals of classic salesmanship and marketing, right? The things that are going to get people to take action on what you have to offer. Test the free report. And don't worry if it doesn't work, because you can always rewrite the headline. You can always rewrite the offer. You can always rewrite the white paper. But don't be afraid to go through and take action, because if you do, you're going to, and it happens to me all the time, analysis paralysis, fail forward and test and track. And honestly, you can't go wrong, especially with what we talked about. The Internet allows you to track and test very, very quickly. And if you do that, there are great resources out there, many of which you can access for free. And that would be my strongest piece of advice.
No, that's great. That's great advice, as usual, Eugene. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and we always end up taking a little piece with us as well and a little bit of knowledge. You guys can definitely read more about what Eugene's talking about, his 450 articles, at Eugene Loy. That's EUGENELOJ.com. And that's EugeneLoy.com. I'm out there pretty normally reading some stuff.
Yeah, there's some great stuff.
And we love interacting with Eugene, and he's a really close friend to National Strategic. So I'm going to basically go over time here just a little bit. Eugene, before you go, why don't you tell us in a couple quick sentences, what's your book about and when's it coming out? And because we're definitely going to have you back when you want to launch that.
Yeah, the book is again, it's called Sold Out, and the focus is on advanced ticket sales. So if you're an event organizer, it doesn't even matter if you're a free event. Your primary focus is really how to pack your event and generate a lot of advanced ticket sales, especially for outdoor event organizers. We work with air shows and beer festivals, and advanced ticket sales are huge, right? There's nothing as comfortable to an event organizer as having a ton of money in their bank account before a single person walks in the gate. So what I've done is I've taken the last kind of 12 years, what I've been doing in the event industry, developed something called the Event Promotion System. It's a 7-step system. It's been tested over and over and is constantly being refined. I boiled it down to the simplest things almost any event organizer can do, and I put it in a book, and I say, here you go. This is, this works. It's worked all over the place. It works for all type of events, and basically trying to, give my best stuff and say, here's what you can do, and making sure ultimately that if you're an event organizer that you're planning the right kind of event and you're not in a position where, and I've talked to a lot of them before, where people will go through and if they can't make their event work, they basically end up going bankrupt, or they have to take a second mortgage on their house. So all of those trials and tribulations, I basically created the 7-step system, and there you have it.
We're looking forward to when's it going to be out?
I'm looking for an April launch, so sometimes next month.
All right. Well, then we'll look. Promise us you'll come back, and we'll chat about that in more detail.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right.
For sure.
Eugene, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks, friend.
All right, Eugene and Roman. I don't get to say that very often. It might be the first interview I've ever done where I have another Eugene on the line.
Oh,
so
yeah. It's always a pleasure.
Take care, and thanks for the time.
No problem.
Take care.
Take care.
So Eugene Loy had some really great advice for us about internet marketing, and he talked a lot about testing. But I think what we want to talk about now is some very specific key strategies, and I want to be very clear about the word specific. How does a small business use the internet profitably, right? There's all this great stuff out there, but how do we actually, could we think of some examples that allow us to integrate internet into marketing strategy?
Eugene, having listened to what Eugene Loy was saying earlier, it sort of made me think of this one thing, specific strategies, and we can talk about some industries and maybe restaurants, maybe the landscaper, maybe just a business-to-business, a seller, whether it's a lawyer, an accountant, whoever it is. But what really sort of struck me was the fact that don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Figure out what your marketing strategy is first, and then figure out what internet tool, whether it's SEO, Google Play, Local, maybe it's QR codes, maybe it is Facebook. Whatever it is that you're comfortable in doing is absolutely vital. If you're not comfortable doing it, if you're not comfortable getting up in front of people and talking, then it's never going to do well for you. But figure out what tool you can use to maybe improve the results you're currently getting, or maybe it's cheaper than what you're currently doing. And then you build the strategy around it. Don't sit there and say, because everyone's on Facebook, I now have to build a strategy around Facebook.
Yeah, but
right?
I think that's an important distinction. Facebook is not a strategy, right? Facebook is a tool.
Correct.
Or maybe a series of techniques that sort of that are implemented by a specific tool.
Yeah.
But your website is a tool. Your direct mail is a tool. Your Facebook page is a tool. How do you get all that stuff put together into a single strategy? Yes. Well, you have to start with a goal in mind, and that goal must be get people to walk through the door or make $500,000 or whatever it is.
We have a local bar around here that has really great wings. You've heard of Cleats before. And recently they've remodeled the store near my house, and it's a great example because they're not all 100% internet. They don't go out and do 100% technology. I mean, let's be honest. The ultimate goal is for them to get you to walk in the door and buy, a dozen wings and a beer to go with it. They're not trying to get you to buy anything online. Well, they also don't spend a lot of time trying to get you to find them online. Sure, they have Google Places. They probably have a few citations.
Right, I was going to say Google Places is super important for a restaurant. Somebody who uses Google Places to, and by the way, I've made buying decisions all the time about food. Yeah. It's like I'm Googling pizza, Cleveland, Ohio, and what do I get? I get dozens of pizza restaurants, and the ones that's got 28 reviews, and everybody talks about how awesome the pepperoni is or how authentic the crust is, all that stuff. That drives my buying decision. So I think it's.
But that's not to say that every restaurant needs to go run out and get their Google Places page. If you're not willing to do it right, if you're not willing to invest the time,
don't do it half-assed.
Right,
exactly.
and if you're going to do it, let's do it the right way. Plus, there's plenty of restaurants. If you have a great strategy, maybe it is handing out coupons. Maybe it is walking the streets and putting flyers in people's mailboxes. Maybe it is, some of the envelopes that have all the coupons inside of them. If that's drawing attention, if that's getting people in your door, that's something that works for you. Don't stop just because everyone says that you have to be on the internet. However, what they do is they get you in the door, and once they're in the door,
wings place?
You got it. What they want to do is build a relationship. So every server, when they hand you the new menu, they hand you this little laminated piece of paper, and on it is the beer special for that particular month, always $1.50 a draft or whatever it is. And there's a huge QR code right there. And next to the QR code says, follow us on Facebook.com. And then underneath it has 2 QR codes for each of their local locations. And then it says, follow these locations. So what they did is they immediately gave me a choice. I can either QR code, I can pull out my smartphone and type in the thing, in the address, or I can go home and say, you know what, I remember that this place
So hold on. I'm going to take the contrarian view for a second. Okay, it's great that it says, like me on Facebook, whatever, but what's my incentive as a customer?
Look, they have the servers who come up, and it's a kind of place where everyone knows everybody, and the servers are really have a very casual relationship. So they come up and say, look, I just want you to do it because I'm going to give you free specials. I'm going to put up announcements, maybe events that are coming up,
so they put their specials up there and they tell you about it.
And they tell you, and they also let you be on the know, right? You're on the inside because they're going to announce certain things on those pages, on the Facebook page, before anywhere else. And so you go ahead and do it. I mean, I did it. I love the place. But now what they do, they now have access to me where they otherwise would have never had access to me. They can now continue to build that relationship with me outside of that. And here's a great example where they use virtual, modern techniques for getting people's interest. They have a modern internet type of way in which they can get me to take action. They're going to educate me about what's going on using that. And ultimately, the sale is getting me back in the door with me and my friends, spending some more money, whether it's over the summer or wherever, or on Wings Tuesday, whatever the case may be.
You know what's common in business to business, if we're just to contrast what you just talked about, which is kind of that whole retail environment where you can get the QR code, you can get the opt-in, you can offer the coupons, the specials, whatever. Business to business is so often all about the education. Right. So what's very common in business to business is people go on LinkedIn and they spam the groups of buy. Hey, check me out. Do you need help with your legal problems? Or hey, looking for a financial advisor?
Or how many groups are just one headline after another giving away some other report or some other 5 secrets or the 10 things, and no one there actually is busy reading what the other people are writing and commenting and starting a conversation and, again, building a relationship and educating. They're all just standing there screaming on their soapbox. It goes, read my 5 tricks to do this, or read my 5 tips, or the 3 things that will kill you tomorrow if you don't read what I'm about to tell you.
Well, so I think the point is that you have to get someone to opt in, but the headlines have become so frequently inadequate or so overdone, right? You're absolutely right.
The real problem with some of the groups on LinkedIn is the group was created because someone wanted to sell their stuff, not start a conversation.
Right.
Everyone caught on, and now you have a bunch of people who've decided that they don't really want to take part. They really just want to tell everyone else what they need to be reading or doing.
But LinkedIn is 150 million members strong. So, one of the things that's worked really well recently in business-to-business online marketing, and that's, again, no matter how you get your leads, whether you get them by, networking or whatever, face-to-face interactions, you get all of those leads, but you let those people see inside of a very exclusive membership community where you're constantly delivering content that would not otherwise be public, right? That's only accessible through that membership community.
Right.
It's easier and easier now to create your own online membership community, and I think that's like a really cool advanced tool that, I mean, pretty much anybody has access to for a few $100, but it really does make you stand out from the guy who goes on a LinkedIn group and does this and that and the other thing, which has been done for years and years now.
Yeah, and it's not even about the medium specifically, right? Because just because you're giving me a video that has the 5 reasons why you should listen to me, as opposed to giving me the white paper of the 5 reasons why you should listen to me, it's still you telling me what it is that you want me to do, and you're not really interested in a relationship. And that's, I think, really a key point in everything that Eugene Lloyd talked about and everything that you and I regularly sort of try to work with our clients on. It's build a relationship with your customers. Don't stand there and try to be the smartest guy in the room all the time. The fact is that we're not. Some of the real benefits that we have is the conversation, and those of us who can then take value from the conversation and then actually go act on it are the ones who win at the end. We don't know, in many cases, more than everyone else. It's just that we're able to get out there and go do it and fail forward, as Eugene said. Fail forward, not afraid to take the risk, measure it, make sure it's a risk that we've measured and we understand ahead of time, and get out there and just get busy.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away today is the more we talk about it, the more it just more concretely stands in front of all of us is, your internet strategy is part of your general marketing strategy, and the goal of that entire thing is for you to make money. So you have to have a goal in mind before you do any of this stuff, before you rebuild your website, before you add, a new flashy picture to your Facebook page, before you go spend time tweeting stuff. It just seems like you have to know how you're going to make money from it. And if you don't have a clear path to the green, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's worth doing.
Yeah. That's a really, really great point, Eugene. So hopefully everybody here listening has gotten some really great ideas, or more importantly, has gotten a new perspective of what it is that the internet
perspective.
A realistic of what the internet really can do for your business, and how it is that you should use the tool, not sort of the game-shifting paradigm that is going to make everything else obsolete. It's not. If you have something that works for you, keep doing it, and see if you can integrate some of the technology and some of the cheaper ways in doing things into what you're doing to just make it better, not replace it. And don't forget, if you guys have any questions, you can always visit us at our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/evolve to grow. Eugene you can follow Eugene on Twitter at BizStratLab. And you can follow me at Evolve to Grow as well. We really look forward to you guys leaving comments and taking part in the conversation. And we look forward to seeing you next time. This is Evolve to Grow Radio, Eugene Schatzman and Roman Yakubovich.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.